Hey guys, how's it going? This is Mark here from Personal Finance for POCs. This is a channel where I help you make the most of your money, either by making more money or by spending it more wisely. And today what I want to talk to you about is the impending gas crisis in the United States and around the world, and how you can save more money on gas in 2022. Now, this isn't a channel about political commentary, and so I'm not going to get into all the reasons why gas prices are increasing, but if you've been to the pump in the last 2 months, you may have noticed that steadily over that time, gas prices have continued to rise. And so I've noticed that in New York, we've had our gas go from $3.50 a gallon all the way up to $4.50 a gallon. In some places, I'm seeing up to $5 a gallon. And there's some reports online that in some parts of the country, gas is all the way up to $7 per gallon. And that is an unbelievable amount of money to be spending on gas. I know that's putting a pinch on a lot of budgets. Even if you're someone who can afford to pay that level of gas, it's just not a good use of your money, and it could be better. And so that's why I'm creating this video, because I've done a ton of work over the last 2 to 3 months on how to optimize my own driving and my own fuel consumption to reduce my gas bill. I've seen my gas bill go down about 50%, so I'm fueling my car half as often as I usually do. And so what I'm doing here is documenting those learnings that I've had from all of the research that I've done, so you guys can reduce your gas bill as well. And just for perspective, if you put these tips and tricks into use in your own everyday life, you can see up to a 50% reduction in gas. And so keep on watching and let me know if you find these tips useful. Before we get into all the tips, one thing that I would appreciate, just as a favor, is if you could hit the like button down below. That helps me not only gain some feedback on this YouTube video, but it also helps others discover this video. I just think gas prices right now are way too expensive, and so if we get the message out to more folks on how they can save money, I think that's a net positive for everyone involved. So if you wouldn't mind doing that before we start, thank you so much. If you want to see other content like this about how to make more money, how to save more money, or my own financial independence journey, please hit the subscribe button down below and you'll catch more videos like this. So with that, I'll just jump right into the tips. These are 5 tips that you can implement in your life today that can save you money on gas in 2022. The first tip that I'm going to talk you through is going to be a little bit unconventional, which is to drive better. And guys, before you all attack me in the comments below, I'm not saying you drive badly. What I'm saying is there's a way to drive to optimize towards fuel efficiency, and it's not the way you're driving today in all likelihood. Most people drive and they're optimizing towards a couple of things. Either you're trying to get to work on time or getting to your destination faster, a minute or two faster than the GPS says you can, or you're driving to optimize for the safety of someone else in the car. But what you're not optimizing for, because you haven't been taught to do it, is to optimize for fuel efficiency. And the way to do this is to understand what your car likes and what it doesn't like when it comes to using energy to get you places. The number one thing that I found through my research that helps contribute to gas efficiency is how often you're hitting the acceleration over the course of your destination. And so what I mean by that is your car uses a ton of energy when it tries to speed you up from one speed to another speed. And if you're someone who's consistently, driving all the way up to the fastest that you can go legally within a given period in order to get somewhere on time, and then you hit some traffic so you've got to slow down, or if you hit a stop sign and you've got to stop, all of that is wasting gas. And so the way to drive when you optimize towards fuel efficiency is to reduce the number of times you're having to brake and the number of times you're having to hit the acceleration. There's a couple of ways that you can do this. First, when you're accelerating after a stop, slow and ease into that acceleration. So rather than hitting the gas pedal hard and accelerating all the way up to the speed that you need to get to, slow into that so that, you're slowly over the course of a block getting to the speed that you need to get to. The other way you can do this is by anticipating when you will need to stop in the future. So if there's traffic coming up, or if there's a stop sign or something coming up that you'll need to stop at. So rather than keep your foot on the acceleration up until the last moment when you need to brake, what you can do instead is let your foot off of the acceleration, ease into that stop, and then as you get closer, ease onto the brake so that you can slowly, brake at the end of the block. The goal of your driving when you're optimizing for fuel efficiency should be to reduce the number of times you need to hit the acceleration and the number of time you need to hit the brake. And so the best case scenario is actually your foot is hovering over the acceleration of the brake and you're pressing those as little as possible. And I know that's a little bit different than you may drive today, but that's the point. You're not optimizing towards fuel efficiency today. The other thing you can do in terms of driving better is by moderating the speed you go. Your car has an ideal range for fuel efficiency. That's different for every car, but most cars are within the 35 miles per hour and the 60 miles per hour range. So if you're going slower than that, you're slightly less efficient because you're not using up all of the energy of the engine. And if you're more than 60 miles per hour, you're actually inefficient because you're making your engine work way too hard. And so keeping within that range is ideal if you can legally, in order to maximize the fuel efficiency that your car will have. Just to put it into perspective, there's some studies out there that say for every 5 miles per hour you go over 50, you're actually adding 30 cents per gallon to your fuel bill. So if you're paying $4.50 today, imagine paying $4.80 because you're driving too fast. And if you're actually serious about this, there's actually tons of tips that you can take in order to optimize your driving towards fuel efficiency. There's an entire category of videos that I can just make around this specific topic. There's something, if you're interested, called hypermiling that you can research, and you'll see tons of videos that take this to the extreme. People who are getting 2x, 3x fuel efficiency by driving in a manner that helps them sort of optimize towards fuel efficiency. The second tip I have for saving money on gas in 2022 is to turn on the economy feature, or the econ or eco feature in your car if your car does have it. This is actually a way for you to hack the system on tip number one. Your car manufacturer in a lot of cases has a mode that you can enable which it forces you to accelerate more slowly as you sort of, ramp up your car. So if you're someone who doesn't want to go through all the effort of tip number one, you can actually use this tip as sort of a cheat code. It won't get you all of the efficiencies that tip one will do, but it will give you part of the way there. And you'd be surprised how many people have an economy feature in their car and don't actually enable it because they find it annoying that they can't accelerate as fast as they can. That's on purpose. That's how you save money on your gas mileage. The third way to save money on gas is to join one of these apps that gives you rewards for fueling up your car. There's an app that I use myself that gives me anywhere between 5 cents on the low end all the way up to 15 cents on the high end per gallon that I'm fueling up. It's called getupside. And what it allows you to do is sort of look for gas stations around you that are doing deals like this with the app. They've got over 500,000 individual stations around the country, and so there's tons, I guarantee, around you. But an app like this will allow you to make a little bit more money back while you're doing something that you're doing anyway. I've actually got a link down below that you can use. You don't have to, but you can use it, and that gives you a bit of a referral bonus. So they give you a booster on top of your usual gas bonus, up to 25 cents per gallon back when you use that link. And so I'll include that down below if you want to sort of join getupside and get those rewards. I just want to pause at this point in the video. If you're enjoying these tips so far and you're finding them helpful or even just entertaining, please hit the like button down below if you haven't already. Again, it just helps more people find the video. And I want to make sure the country in general is paying as little as they need to on gas in 2022. So thanks so much. Tip number 4 to get more fuel efficiency and save money on gas is to use AC and heat more intelligently. Now, if you're in a part of the country that needs to use either heat or AC, or if you're in a part of the world that needs to do that, I'm not saying do not use these. I'm just saying there's ways for you to be a little bit more intelligent about when you use these services in order to make the most out of them. And one way to think about this is if there's a better alternative to either heat or AC that you could be using, that's a way for you to save on the portion of gas that you're spending on these things. And so one example of that is if you're driving in the city and let's say it's 85, 90 degrees, and so it's hot, but not super hot, what you can do is turn down your windows and allow your car to naturally get a little bit cooler based on the wind that's coming through your car. This works if you're driving in the city in slower traffic, but when you're driving in the highway, that wind resistance from having your windows open actually doesn't work at all, right? So you're actually better off in the highway turning up your AC as opposed to keeping your windows open. So it's not really about whether you use this service or not, it's really just being a little bit more efficient. Now, when it comes to heat, one thing that you can do is layer a little bit better when you're in your car, so you don't have to turn the heat up so high all the way to the max temperature whenever you're driving. So if you can put on a hat or a jacket, you're going to need it in your destination anyway, and those things will help you not need to turn up the heat in your car so much. The other thing that you can do to modulate the temperature in your car is actually be a little bit careful about where you're parking. If you can park inside of a shady area like a garage or under a tree, that'll help cool down your car. If your garage is a little bit warmer than it is outside in the winter, which usually most garages are, then that's another way of keeping your car temperature to a little bit higher than the outside temperature when you actually get in. And so that is a good way to sort of save on gas. Finally, the fifth and final tip I've got for you in order to save money on gas in 2022 is to monitor your car maintenance. This is super important because there's some parts in your car that aid in fuel efficiency, and they're not always the parts that you think about. So it's not always your engine. One thing that people often overlook is their tire pressure. When your tires are underinflated or overinflated, they're either sort of working too hard, and so they're more likely to wear and tear over time, or they're underinflated, so they're not working hard enough, and your engine is actually having to pick up that pace and work a little bit harder and waste more gas. And so what I recommend you do is look up the recommended PSI for your car in the country that you're in. Fill it up exactly to that PSI and don't go too much over or too much under. That will help you ensure that your tires are appropriately working towards your fuel efficiency. There's a couple of other things you can do in terms of your oil changes and your car examinations and making sure those are done at a regular time. But the most important thing that I found that matters is really the tire pressure when it comes to car maintenance. So guys, those are a few ways that you can use to save more money on gas in 2022. I mentioned in the beginning of the video, I've got a personal story on this. I implemented these changes in my own driving day to day. And what I found was I went from roughly 15 miles per gallon in terms of my fuel efficiency before I implemented this in a city environment. I live in New York City, all the way up to close to 30 miles per gallon when I implemented all of these changes is what I was getting from a fuel efficiency perspective. So I'm literally fueling my car half as frequently as I needed to before by driving a little bit better by implementing these changes. If you want to know what these changes can do for your driving, I've actually got a calculator below that I found that the government set up, which helps you manage, based on each of these changes, what your average fuel efficiency difference will be. So whether you're saving $1 per gallon or $2 per gallon. So I'll link that in the description below as well. And you can use that to figure out if this is actually worth it for you or not. And so guys, with that, I am Mark from Personal Finance for POCs. If you like this video, again, please hit the like button down below. Comment if you've got other gas tips that I haven't included in terms of how to save money on gas, and hit the subscribe button because I post a ton of content like this, which is all about saving more money, making more money, moving towards financial independence for you and your family. So thanks so much. And with that, I'll see you later.